Coach Wiggins, how would you assess your style? And let me preface it by saying, is it based on the personnel that you have, and how, or is it going to be more as you go on, you'll kind of figure out a flow to the way you want your offense to look?
No, I think pretty much any good coach is going to try to tailor everything that they do to the players and the personnel that they have. So for us, is looking at what our guys do well, trying to put those guys in a great position to be successful and make that happen. I think we have some really good pieces. I'm excited about them, and we're 5 days or 5 practices through camp, and we're starting to figure some things out.
On the left, Tony, and then Alex.
Coach, obviously, coming out of the first early practices, Terry Bussey seems to have gotten a lot of attention, a lot of praise. From your vantage point, have you kind of seen his growth and development kind of match that conversation? And just what is his ability to kind of open this offense if he kind of gets to his peak where he could be?
Well, there's no doubt that, Terry Bussey kind of came in with a lot of praise, being a Gatorade Player of the Year, and some of the things that he did at Timpson. The biggest handcuff for him is the fact that, injuries. You get to a spring where he's figuring out how to play receiver, and the second practice, gets a hamstring, not able to do anything else in that kind of first spring that he had. Now getting a chance to kind of stay healthy, smart player, tough player, brings a definite different dimension to kind of what we're doing, has the ability to carry the ball, plays big in space, has some really good explosiveness. So we're excited about Bussey and where he's at, because he's picking up exactly what we're trying to do.
Alex?
Hey, Holmon. Ruben was pretty open with us last week about some of the areas that he's seeking to grow in, particularly stumbling in some of his runs. I'm just curious how you've seen him work on improving in those areas in particular, and just kind of what it says about him that he's trying to improve those ways as a veteran.
The great thing to see about that is the fact that Ruben cares. He has an idea of what he sees himself to be, and I know he didn't feel like he kind of played to that standard. But this spring, this summer, and actually this fall camp, he's done an amazing job of kind of making sure that he felt like some of these spots where he knew he was good at kind of made him weaknesses. Now he's kind of making those strengths. You see his body balance. He's built his body up, and that was one of the biggest things when he first got here. Kind of got a little overweight. Now you see him being able to hit the hole, and I think he wants to see it. So he's coming back and trying to take input. Hey, Coach, what did you see there? Coach Taylor and also Coach Skrosky are doing an amazing job with him as well.
And just as this offensive line continues to come together, just what have been your impressions of the competition, particularly at guard and then at left tackle?
Well, there's competition all over the place. And the biggest thing for us is we talked about making sure that we run the ball consistently. And we made an effort to kind of tell our guys that doesn't just start with the offensive line. That's a quarterback carrying out the fakes. That's our running backs kind of seeing, pressing the hole. That's our receivers trying to bully the perimeter. That's also our tight ends trying to, play hard within the core. But the offensive line has done a great job of taking on that stress and doing a great job of coming out and trying to make sure that they move the line of scrimmage, anchor there and control the tempo, because they control a lot of what we do.
On the right side, Olin, and then Travis.
Yeah, Coach, when we were in Tampa for SEC Media Days, Marcel told us that it was going to be rolling out more, moving the pocket more. Mm-hmm. How do you envision that benefiting him and the team?
Well, I think a lot of defenses has seen how athletic the quarterback is, right? And for us, that gives us the ability to be able to put him on the perimeter, kind of change the launch point, especially for defenses that try to tee off on us and actually see the quarterback in just one spot. So for us, that has always been the onus, to be able to make sure that we can sit there, drop back in the pocket, have some quick game, move the pocket, and change those launch points, because we play some animals in this league. And if you're just staying off in one spot, that gives those guys the advantage. So we're trying to take a little bit of that back.
Travis?
Yeah, Holman. Seems like Cohen Eccles is a guy that y'all are using on different parts of the line. What is about his game that proves that he can accomplish that?
Well, it starts with him being a smart player. He has the ability and the capacity to go out there and learn multiple spots. Also, he's a high try guy, right? Which for us, we're going to be an effort regime, and he's doing a great job of, showing a championship effort, straining his tail off, and learning kind of exactly what we're doing. So it's been great to see Cohen, manifest some of the things that he wanted to do here. And we need that. We need him to anchor. We need depth in the offensive line. We need guys that are going to strain. We need smart, dependable players, and he's definitely one of those.
And then adjacent to your purview, what is the place-kicking battle bit looked like so far from your vantage point?
I'll lead the place-kicking battles to Coach Doherty.
On the left side with Cade.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the running back room. I know you talked a little bit about Ruben, but really that group as a whole, how have you seen them develop from your perspective, 1 week into camp?
Yeah, well, you talk about the stable. I think as a collective, man, that's a tremendous group. Me being an old running back, I know I always try to kind of filter in there and kind of see what those guys are doing. Ruben has done a great job of kind of grabbing the bull by the horns and showing some maturity and some leadership in the room. Jamarian Morrow, he's continued to kind of be the guy that we think he is. He's quick, fast, he's smart, he's tough. He's doing a great job, had some big runs this camp. Hopefully, he'll continue to kind of stay steady. Also, we've been getting some stuff from Tiger Ryden, who was a guy that, in my opinion, shocked me kind of coming in because we didn't see much of him fall camp and, a couple injuries kind of held him out. And now you get a chance to see him. He's a big, powerful guy that kind of gives us a little different dimension, a little change up as a big back. And then our two freshmen have done a really good job of coming in and starting to figure things out. KJ, he was injured a little bit in the spring. Now he's been healthy, has added some weight. That's a tribute to Coach Moffitt and his team and what they've done. But you see all of those things kind of play off. He's lightning in a bottle, has a chance to basically stretch the field vertically and horizontally, can help us in the pass game. And then Carson Baker has done a phenomenal job of making sure that he's understanding kind of what we're doing. I think now things are slowing down from a spring and a summer. So now he can sit there and understand exactly kind of what we're doing, and you're seeing those things pay off in practice.
Stay on the left side with Alex.
I wanted to ask you just what your impression of Marcel's been through this first week, things he's done well, things you guys have talked about, continued areas of improvement for him.
I think for him, he stayed steady. The biggest thing for us was making those consistent improvements and daily deposits that he can make. So he's up there studying and getting extra film. He's up there trying to understand exactly what we're asking him to do in the game plan and what's in the system. And we're trying to tailor everything to his skill set. And now you see him doing some stuff and actually taking more command of the offense because there's a more understanding of what it is. And I think a lot of that comes with experience and also time on the job. So he's continuing to build confidence through our practices.
On the right side with Carter.
Hey, Holman, what did you learn maybe from your time at Alabama about juggling so many options at wide receiver, and how difficult do you think that will be to carve out roles and rotations for a room that looks this deep?
Coach Saban used to always say it's hard to be a good coach if you don't have good players, and that's, a great thing to feel like, hey, we have, a ton of players in that receiver room that we feel like can kind of give us the ability to go out and play really good ball in the SEC. The biggest thing is putting our best 11 out there, and whether that's through different personnel or different packages, we're going to find ways to get playmakers on the field.
Coach Elko had mentioned that you'd had some experience calling plays in spring game and some practices. Has that helped you at all this offseason?
Absolutely. I think, you get confidence through a lot of the things that you try to rep in a submission. I remember, calling one of our spring games at Alabama, and Coach Saban, we were inside the 10. I kept running the ball, and he said, "You're calling plays like an O-line coach." And got on me a little bit. And it's just, a learning process. And for the most thing is trying to figure out exactly what we need, trying to stay one step ahead, because all of it is a chess match. But all of that plays a part in my journey and my experience, and it's been lovely to see, and I'm excited about it.
All the way in the back with Landon.
Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
Quick question about the receiver room in there. You mentioned about that depth, but some of the young guys, especially Aaron Gregory and Madden Williams, have really stepped up. What have you seen from those guys, and what kind of role do you see for them in the fall?
I think as they continue to show promise, I think the roles will continue to grow for both guys, right? And they are not only the only freshman in the room. Jaden Warren has also showed some flashes. So it's exciting to see those freshman guys kind of come in, kind of see some of those older guys and see how they kind of go about their business. It's been great also as we kind of get to fall camp, get in the pad zone, and those guys feeling the heat and exactly kind of what it is, but also just trying to build consistency within that group. Madden Williams, we knew that he had super elite traits, tracking the ball. He's now starting to play faster because there's more of an understanding of what he's doing. Aaron Gregory, we knew that he was a guy that could stop and start, could play the ball, really good position flex. So now he's learning multiple positions because he has that capacity. Jaden Warren was a guy that had unbelievable size, also a vertical stretch guy. You're seeing him starting to play a little more powerful and actually play the way that he looks. So I'm excited about that young group of wideouts.
Back up in the front with Carter.
I know Marcel's talked about wanting to kind of limit the interceptions after having 12 last year.
Yes.
Doesn't seem like he's had many in the practices we've watched.
No.
What have you kind of seen from him, that area, just taking care of the football?
Well, that's a huge emphasis on what we're trying to do, right? Because turnovers played a huge part as well as penalties and us running the ball consistently. But it starts with the quarterback, right? We're trying to put the ball in play, but also we're not trying to put the ball at risk. So if we can go out there and limit some of those things, right, the biggest thing is not putting ourselves at a disadvantage. So if he can do that, that'll give us the competitive advantage that we need.
Back to the back with Nick.
The local guy, Houston Thomas. I'm just wondering, what have you seen from him so far in camp, and also what kind of role do you maybe hope that he carves out for himself?
Yeah, with Houston, right, we knew that he was a big athletic pass-catching tight end that also could dabble in the run game. He's done an exceptional job of building his body up to play in this league, right? So now he's carrying around 250, 255 pounds kind of on a frame that he hadn't been used to. So in the spring, I think he was getting used to kind of how that felt. In the summer, I think there was a little bit of some comfort kind of starting to build. Now, right, in fall camp, I think he knows exactly kind of what that is, and he's a great guy that can basically balance kind of out of both. He gives us a little bit of a threat as a pass catcher. Now he's starting to mix some things up in the run game just as far as kind of getting his nose dirty and straining and showing us that effort that we need day to day for us to be as successful as we can be.
And to piggyback off Carter's question in the front about play calling, just how is this, maybe this off-season and then camp been a little bit different for you? We saw you this spring so hands-on, just in drills and stuff like that. How have you, I guess, sort of tried to balance both those things, and maybe how does camp maybe look different with that play calling role added?
Well, there's always the balance. With me being a walk around, I'm trying to figure out like different spots, and I want to make sure that I'm present, right? Getting a chance to kind of know what other guys are doing and actually see what some of those guys are doing. I think me being around shows those guys that, you know, there's some importance there. Just as far as the play calling, like it continues to kind of just be confidence and comfort in what we're trying to do. Right, we feel like we got really good clay just as far as the nucleus of guys that we have. We have a quarterback that has a ton of experience in the league. We have some offensive linemen that have a ton of experiences in this league. And those are going to be guys that we're going to lean on, as well as, you know, our coaches in the room. I think, you know, we have a melting pot of ideas. We're putting the right ideas in place for our guys to be the best offense that they can be this season.
Back up front with Travis.
Holmon, at Media Days, Elko mentioned bringing in Joey Lynch and Marcel for the first time having a dedicated quarterback coach that isn't splitting duties. How have you maybe seen him develop by having the ability to work with you, but then also have his own position coach like that?
Yeah, it's been great, right? You know, because you talk about Coach Lynch, who's been a coordinator in this league, who's well-versed in quarterback play, but also has, you know, a really great background just as far as developing quarterbacks. And now you continue to see Marcel and his growth just as far as understanding kind of what we're doing. We're putting more on the quarterback, you know, this year, and we're asking more of the quarterback, and he's done a great job of understanding that, but also making sure that he's ready for that. So I've seen kind of his game kind of take it to the next level, and I think that's a part of growth kind of on his part. Him understanding that this is a year that he knows that this offense is going to go as he goes, him kind of finding comfort in kind of what we're doing, but also him putting the time in, right? Like, it's hard to get results if you don't put the time in and you don't have the right kind of habits, and he's developing all of those.